Impossible Foods is a startup in California. It was founded with the specific intention of addressing the biggest environmental problem in the world, which is animal farming, and addressing it by basically figuring out a way to make the best, most delicious, nutritious, affordable meats in the world directly out of plants, and then putting them on the market. And if we do our job and consumers prefer our products to what they get from animals, then that's going to be the most effective, quickest way to replace this industry that is the most destructive in the world. With respect to climate change, animal farming is responsible for about 1/7 of ongoing greenhouse gas emissions, which for perspective is more than the transportation industry and more than the United States emits. And in addition to that, there's a huge opportunity cost of animal farming because it currently occupies about 1/3 of the land area of Earth. That's land area right now where the steady state biomass, the carbon stored in biomass and in the soil, is much less than it was 150 years ago. And it can return to the level that it was at 150 years ago. And there have been very good studies that have indicated that replacing animal farming in that land would enable about 14 years worth of fossil fuel emissions, that equivalent in carbon dioxide, to be captured and stored as biomass and in the soil. So it's actually probably about the only plausible way right now, using mature technology, photosynthesis, to actually reduce atmospheric CO2 levels, something that is rarely talked about in the climate community. Governments and NGOs aren't really good at innovation, particularly transformative innovation, for a whole variety of reasons. But the business world can tap into the innovative ideas from pretty much the entire population of Earth. There's a tremendous amount of good ideas that can be developed and as sort of independent entrepreneurial initiatives. And that's where most of the innovation, I think, that really transforms the world over history and ongoing comes from. The governments, I think, have a tremendous role to play, but they have real difficulty doing things that are disruptive and transformative because there's a lot of built-in inertia. There's a tremendous influence of the very institutions that we're trying to disrupt that have a lot of control in government. And so the fact that business doesn't have to, basically you can change the world just by creating a product or service that customers value. If you can do that, and that product or service does something good for the world, you can change things much more rapidly than could be done by governments or international groups, I think. A couple things. One is, at this meeting, there are a lot of individuals and organizations represented that share many of the goals that are what Impossible Foods is all about. And it's an opportunity for us to meet people from whom we can learn, that we can help share our ideas with, and that are potential allies that can help us achieve our goals. In addition, the issue that we're trying to address at Impossible Foods is a specific issue, which is the environmental impact of animal farming is sort of like the dirty little secret of the environmental world and the climate change world. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's a huge problem, but it almost never gets discussed. Even at this meeting, it's almost not represented at all except by us. And I think the reason is because people think of it as a problem that can't be solved. It's hard to imagine a way to satisfy the demands of people who love meat, which includes about 99% of the people at this meeting, without using animals. And one of my goals at this meeting was to get the message across, not just about our company, but the idea that this is actually a very solvable problem, that animals are an obsolescent technology that worked great 10 million years ago or 10,000 years ago, are unimprovable and can be vastly improved upon with better ways of turning plants into meat, the result of which is actually foods that are every bit as delicious as anything we can get from animals, more affordable, more sustainable. When you think of it that way, now you can start talking about this huge problem because it's not something that just is upsetting to hear about, it's something you can actually act on. So I want to kind of get that concept across to this audience, which I think can have a lot of impact.